Live. Oh my goodness.
We
We
just
even
had,
have someone in the we had someone waiting too. Oh my god.
well, we just had
Uh,
an extended rehearsal.
yeah, we did. Hello everyone. Welcome to welcome to the Tech Audio Chat where Dan forgets to press the go live button and we're just chatting here by ourselves.
Yeah, at least it's tech audio chat, so like we're doing the chatting
We're
part.
doing the chatting part. We really appreciate all your patience. It's hot here. My brain is cooking. That's the excuse I'm providing today. Um, yeah. Hi, I'm Dan Reynolds. I'm Dan Reynolds, and climate change is real. It's a real thing. I put the little banner on the bottom. It's a whole inside joke. You'll just have to imagine that it was really funny. And yeah, well, I'm joined by Eric Buckles for the second time in a row. Um, so you broke your streak. That's the sort of but you gotta work back to get
Well,
it
I
back
still hold the record, so
up. Yeah. So Steven's in the chat. Hey, Steven, how's it going? We live. That's right. Uh, apologies. I really appreciate your patience. We were literally jabbering for
we were about to
like
go
15
into.
minutes. It's the whole thing. Oh goodness.
Now we got to do the whole preamble again.
Yeah, we do. Well, okay. I mean, it's yes. Yeah. So basically, what we're going to be talking about today is um, tooling. Specifically, we're going to chat about Eric's the specific view model stuff in the Tech Audio Tools plugin. That's it? The Tech Audio Tools
Yeah, it's the
plugin.
Tech Audio Tools plugin,
Yeah.
the Metasound view models that are in there,
Yeah.
and I'm going to show like another use case for using those for building tools besides just like preset editor widgets.
Yeah. But here's the thing: is this is what sort of y'all missed, and it was basically, me advocating for digging into and learning about creating your own custom tools, and it's not necessarily an obvious thing because it doesn't scream audio, right? Like it's a general purpose suite of utilities for creating custom tooling. And so it's one of those things where you're gonna have to put your like game developer hat on and be like, okay, I have to think more generally about how I engage this system, but also think how I can leverage this to like back into like audio development. And so and I told this whole story about the, the second feature request I ever made, which was being able to access parameters in the editor blueprints, despite maybe them being like blueprint read only or blueprint not blueprint accessible or whatever. And so yeah, regardless, I think just basically it's very easy to sort of sleep on these, and especially if you're working in a team, I think this is where actually, you know what? It's either way. If you're working on a project where the development time is long enough that you are going to be creating workflows around your project scheme, right? These specific to your project. It's like, oh, I have this thing, and I need to intake this asset, and then I need to set these properties, and then I need to do this, that, and the other thing, and then I need to maybe generate some subsequent asset and then feed that in, and all sort of stuff. Like that, there are many steps, right? And you're going to do it like 100 times, or 1,000 times, or 20,000 times, and so uh, the idea is that you would just create a custom script around that workflow, right? And so then it becomes supremely easy to do the things that you want, and then you're only spending that sort of extra time on the special cases, the sort of exceptional, um, uh, uh, the sort of exceptions to the rule.
The
Eh,
20%.
yeah, or even less. I mean, it depends on
Yeah.
your right. It depends on on your project. So so anyway, I recommend digging into them. And you know what, uh, uh, Eric mentioned when no one was here that he does a lot of tool work. That's kind of part of his job is that he does a lot of tool building. And so I think, and so that's sort of where the Tech Audio Tools plugin comes in. How would you describe it? Sort of like adds some additional functionality that sort of helps build tools around some of these more specific audio development areas, like meta sounds.
Yeah, so Tech Audio Tools in its current early form is pretty much just the Metasound view models. And what that lets you do is make preset editor widgets for your presets, so you can have fancy knobs and sliders for your designers to tweak, rather than having to go into the preset where you have like that grayed out node and it's like got all the inputs and it's like kind of a mess. And then you have to hunt down your input and then type in your number and stuff. That's the workflow that we're trying to improve with the preset editor widgets. But what you can also do with the view models is build other types of utilities um, in widgets, in UMG widgets, that let you do all kinds of other things. For example, you could do something that lets you edit the metadata of meta sounds, or like the inputs and outputs, or migrate presets from one preset to another, or batch editing of inputs on like a whole bunch of presets at the same time.
Actually, I want to highlight something that
Mhm.
sort of skated by there, which is I think another really powerful aspect of I think both what the tool brings and the sort of editor utilities, specifically the editor widgets,
Mhm.
and that is being able to create a visually compelling or creative tool, and the using UMG, which is if you don't know, UMG or Unreal Motion Graphics is a WYSIWYG editor. And if you're too old to know what WYSIWYG means, it's what you see is what you get. In other words, it's like this very sort of visual editor for creating user interfaces. And I think something that is another really great use story for editor tools and tool building is being able to create editing workflows or authoring workflows that support, let's just say, users, team members who maybe don't have either they don't have the bandwidth or just have their own challenges in terms of digging into the more technical aspects of the authoring process, and sort of creating a sort of like a really easy tool for those folks where it's got all the bumpers, it's got all the sort of limits already tagged on, and you can't really make a wrong
Yeah.
decision there. And they can kind of there is something sort of even though it's still like a mouse and keyboard experience, there is a sort of interesting facsimile of a tactile interaction that supports a what I would consider something that is inviting, that is sort of like asks you to explore the parameter space. Like if you just see a box and you just enter a number, it's like, what do you put in there? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah, yeah.
where if you see a slider, then you want to grab it and you want to sort of like go, hey, what happens if it goes up? What happens when it goes
Mhm.
down? And that I feel is like a creative workflow that taps into a different part of the brain, a different part of the sort of like production process that can be really powerful.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I
so I
did.
just wanted to
No,
highlight
no, no, it's
that
fine.
aspect of it.
I guess going back at GameSoundCon last year, I had a presentation where I talked about all the editor utilities, and I showed some of the widgets that I was working on back then. And since then, I came out with the Tech Audio Tools view models. And this year at GameSoundCon, hoping to have a bit more to show in terms of that, and deliver on the promise of putting some more stuff into the plugin so that folks can start incorporating some of the workflows that we use at Epic into their own projects.
Yeah, like let me ask you this then: how do you approach a workflow that's very centered around a very specific game experience, and then abstract that or generalize that for
Yeah.
like a general purpose demonstration? Or because that's something we also talked about when we weren't live.
Well, I think we kind of touched on it too when we came back, but in terms of like editor utilities, like you say, it's very custom for the project. There's if you're making a rhythm game and you need to ingest all those MIDIs to spit them into data assets, like that's specific to your game. We can't really do that for you,
Right.
or no one else can say what's best for your project. But in terms of like meta sounds specifically, like there's a decent amount of room for tooling and just kind of general workflow improvements that we can do as tech audio designers using UMG and widgets with editor utilities of all kinds, just the blueprints and function libraries and whatnot. But I think one of the big tools that we got a lot of use out of on Fortnite was the preset migrator, because it can be hard to on the engine side, like when you move from one preset to another, like those presets have different parents and those parents can have different inputs, and so like how do you reconcile which input goes where when you make a migration?
Yeah, can you actually, like, without getting into Fortnite specifics, because obviously you can't,
Yeah.
can you sort of abstract the problem? Like, what is the like problem you're trying to solve there?
Yeah, we like occasionally there might be a point where you have a lot of risk around updating a meta sound parent that has a bunch of presets under it. You don't want to shake the jello and possibly break a bunch of assets.
This, by the way, is something that I have absolutely done.
There's danger
Yeah.
in the preset relationship caused when you make presets of things.
Yeah.
And so one way you can break out of that is to convert from preset, and then you have like just a standalone standalone source asset that has just the node on it from the
Right.
parent. But you might be in a situation where you have like a new parent graph that you want to migrate to,
Right.
and you don't want to have to re-enter in all of your inputs that you've customized from your previous asset. Like, yes, all of your floats, all of your, like, everything has to be
very painful.
Yeah,
I did this.
no.
I did this. I did this
Why
on
would you
Lego
do that?
Fortnite. I did this on Lego Fortnite, and it sucked because it was like 36 presets, with 4 different
That's
parent
it?
templates or something like that. It just sucked. It was just a bad night, It was just like, I hate this. I gotta slog through this because it's one of those things where it's like you're just copying float data over, and it's just
Yeah.
like, what is? And
It's easy to mess up.
Yeah, your eyes are getting tired of looking at like this little combo box or whatever,
Yeah, it's disastrous.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to improve that, and so I turned to editor utilities. I made a widget, and I actually showed it at GameSoundCon last year. It was one of my examples in my slides, but basically you could choose a preset and it would show up on the left column, and then you would choose the new parent and it would show all of the inputs on the right column. And so
What is the sort of high level architecture and UX for something like that? Like, what is the, like at a sort of a distance?
So I mean, it's basically the two lists,
Mhm.
and you'd have like asset pickers at the top, so you could select your source and then your destination, or like your preset and your new parent. And then when you have the list side by side, you can see all the inputs from where you're going to where you're coming from. And I set it up so you could just drag and drop, and it would if you drag a float, it'll like highlight all of the floats that you are droppable on, and you just drop it there, and then it would like link. It would show like link icons where you've connected the old preset to the new one. And so you just work your way through that and connect all of them. Granted, you don't
Basically
have,
creating like a map between the
yeah,
two
yeah,
parameter spaces.
you're linking the old one to the new one.
Yeah.
And you don't want to have to do this for every preset. And so I had a way of saving those links so that
Yeah.
whenever you try to migrate from that preset or any preset of that parent, because
Right.
it's the same for all of them, to the new parent, it would recall those links, and so it'd save you a lot of time. You would only have to do it the one time.
Cool.
You do it once. It's
love
painful
it.
that one time though, and it's like, oh, I gotta drag them all, and oh, I
Are
forgot
you
to save
kidding?
it.
I wish I could have dragged them when I was doing my thing. Oh god.
Well, it's a nice tool, and it's I'm planning to refactor it a bit now that I have the view models, because that was before I had view models, and now it'll be even easier. And
Can you like roughly explain what view models are and why it's different?
yeah, so view models, it's a new plug, I guess relatively new plugin. I think it was in like 5.1 or something, but I think it's still in beta, but it has shipped in Fortnite on various experiences. But essentially, it's a layer. It's a data layer that lives between a widget and the model, which in the case of a game would be like the player's health. The widget would be like the hearts on the screen, and then the view model would be what converts the health percent into number of hearts or something like
Right.
that. It's just a very thin layer that interfaces between a view, which is the widget, and then the model, which is the game, or in the case of tech audio tools would be the meta sound or the asset. And so the way that it looks like in Unreal is in UMG when you have your widget, which I'll do like a walkthrough later on, but
Yeah.
there's a view models window, and you would just add your view model. It lives up there, and you can see like your health percent as like a float, and then you can bind that float number to some part of your widget. And it depends on your widget, but you might have like an input on a function that takes a float, and then that like spits out the hearts on the view. That's kind of in a nutshell.
Okay.
But yeah, it's a really flexible. It's very convenient, I guess I should say, for binding, because it doesn't do polling. Like if you've ever
Yeah.
made widget bindings in UMG, what it actually does is it will on tick, it will poll. It'll go and check the value of whatever you bound it to every frame, which is not performant. And so if you have a list with just a bunch of widgets, or if you just make a really big tool, and you do a lot of bindings like that, you can notice like, oh, you click on something, it takes a second for it to select. So
I've always avoided binding because of that. That's something that I have every time I've built like a widget, I've always avoided. I've always tried to sort of shape things where it's like, on construction, I will pull the data, and then, or on initialization or whatever,
Yeah.
I'd pull the data, and then I just sort of store like a parallel state, and then I would have events that would call back to change it. Right.
Yeah, event driven is like the proper old way of doing
Right.
things instead of the
But
bindings.
it's a lot of it's like a lot of
Yeah.
work, because you're sort of, and the risk, of course, is that you failed to update the state on one of those
Yeah.
things, and then you get a mismatch somewhere.
And this is I really should have explained this sooner, but what's really nice about that is it allows your widget to be stupid. Like your widget, all it does is take the data and displays it how the view model says it should be, and all of like your higher level logic lives in the model, or some of it can be in the view model, but it decouples your widget from the business logic, and so you don't have to you don't have to have all your events be on your widget blueprint. And so later on when I do a walkthrough, you'll see my blueprint graphs are almost empty because I'm not doing any of the work there. A lot of it's already being done inside of the Metasound view model, or like just in the Metasound engine,
Right.
And so, yeah, it's made it a lot easier to make cleaner tools that are easier to put together, just because you're not having to reason about these massive blueprints that if you have 4 buttons, now you've got like 4 events on your blueprint graph, and it's like, it's such a pain.
Yeah.
But there's still some of that, and you'll end up with pretty big graphs if you make big tools even with view models. But it's still, anything you can do to offload some of that from the blueprint side is very nice, and it makes it easier.
Well, and I think back to the point of like this is something that when I have worked in editor widgets, I have not cared so much about, because usually the editor widget itself contains the logic, and so that's all sort of bundled in the same space. But anytime I've had to have the widget be literally an interface between the view, the interaction, and what we're calling the model, which is basically my thing, whatever it is, my runtime actor or like a system that I've built or whatever, then I always have the membrane between those two spaces is just like thick with like event callbacks, and all sorts of subscription, registrations and stuff like that. It's really frustrating. Yeah, it's always like a lot of extra work.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess should we just jump in, or
sure? Yeah,
do you
whatever.
have any other
I'll follow
topics
I'll
before
follow your
we?
lead. I mean, the only thing. There isn't anything that. Let me see if anyone's. It's just. Steven is concerned about. I will say, working in UMG is its own skill. I have had. I will say I've had previous experience just like in art stuff, like design, and for like building layout.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very like UMG is very like, yeah, you've got a container that's going to contain more containers, and there, it's very like sort of how do you visually organize things horizontally, vertically, etc. And I feel like it helps a lot to have that sort of background or that experience when you're digging into it. It's very easy to make it like a really super messy widget, because you're just like, here's the canvas, and then you just sort of like drop widgets wherever you feel like it. And then like the sizing, which is like always a weird thing, where it's like, what is the scale and how does it anchor on the side of the thing and whatever, and then I've got it ultra wide and then someone else is on mobile or whatever, and so it becomes hard. I feel it.
I'm gonna just start off by saying, don't use canvas widgets, right?
I use them all the time.
I
they stopped because they used to be by default, and now I'm like, where's my canvas widget?
It was by default, and it was also like a lot of tutorials that will say to use it, and they are useful. Like they have their use case, especially like if you're making a HUD for your game, you're gonna have a canvas so you can anchor to the corners and stuff. But for tools, thankfully, I don't think I've ever needed to use a canvas.
Nice. That's probably why yours always looks super clean. I'm always really impressed. Not to sort of set a bar here.
Well, tonight's not going to look super amazing, but I'll hopefully pass on some tips that will help people at least kind of control their layouts more. And step one is just to not use the canvas, because that, I feel like, just works against you the whole time.
That's really funny. Shall I switch over to sharing?
Yeah, sure.
Thing? Yeah, okay.
So
You're up.
I guess, let's start off by, I want to show you the plugins that you should enable first, just to get to the view models. So the first one you need is UMG view model, and this is the one that will enable the view model bindings windows in the UMG window. And then you also need Tech Audio Tools. not this one, but the Tech Audio Tools experimental one. This one contains the Metasound view models and more stuff in the future. We'll see.
Nice.
So once you have that and restart your editor, I'm just going to go ahead and start by making a super basic editor utility widget.
Okay.
And don't do this. No canvas. Honestly, I just choose none until I know what I want to start with, or I will default to vertical box.
Yeah, that's pretty classic.
Yeah, like it's hard to go wrong. And in this demonstration, I'm going to make well, let me show you. I'll show you what we're going to end up with, and then I'll just kind of run through how we're going to make it. So this is the Tech Audio Chat Metasound editor, and it lets me select a metasound in here. And when I do that, it's going to populate a list with all of the inputs. This was from our sound effect generator.
Yeah.
And over here on the right, if I select one of the inputs, it's going to show the input name and then the display name if it has one, the description, like all this stuff gets pulled directly from, in this case, right here. And if this works, and I go here to frequency, you can see it's pulled the correct data.
Right.
And if I wanted to modify this in our fancy little Metasound editor, we can say hello world. And there we go. If you saw it over here, it was updating in real time. It's a bit laggy when you do it because this is such a big Metasound graph. But I can also set this as an advanced pin, and I can set the sort order index to like whatever I want, and it'll show up there. One tool that I was kind of prototyping as I was working on the Metasound view models was a list just like this, but I could like drag and drop them to like reorder all the inputs.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, so like you can do stuff like that, and it's super nice because when you have a preset of this, and or not necessarily a preset, but like if you have a node on your graph, and you want to order these properly, like it's a lot easier to drag and drop them in an editor utility widget than it is to go in here and be like, okay, like this one's 5. Okay, now I have to go back and change that one from 5 to something else. It's that one kills me. So yeah, we're gonna recreate this from scratch, and Dan's gonna stop me if I go too fast or kind of ask some questions. And let me know if anyone in the chat has questions too, because I don't.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it.
Yeah, I don't have that pulled up very visibly. Okay, so the first thing I want to make is actually going to be that. Let me go back to it. Here. I want to make one of these widgets here, like each of these rows. I'm going to start with that. And this is a good time to shout out.
Just the input list, basically?
Yeah, one of these things in the input list. And this is a good time to shout out the widget reflector. This is a tool up in the debug menu in the tools window or menu. And if you open this is how I scaled my UI so you can actually see it on stream. But what you can also do is pick hit testable widgets. And now wherever I move my cursor to, it's going to show me the widgets that were used to create that.
I have used this, by the way. This is this is just a generally really powerful tool in Unreal. And I have used this tool as an example when I'm like for example, let's say I'm like, oh, I'm looking at sequencer, and I'm like, this is a really neat widget. How does this work?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, let me say, and then it shows me the file that's referencing. It's referencing the instance, but it's like it shows me the file, and I can sort of follow the breadcrumbs back to like the object that it's like representing or something like that. And I feel like it's such a powerful way to sort of see something and then be able to sort of dig into it, like by drilling directly at it, rather than sort of guessing, oh, what did I think they called it, like that. Yeah. So I feel like it's one of those weird sort of secret tools that that
You
you gotta just
compliment my
try out.
widgets. You compliment my widgets, but literally what I do is I go around the editor. So the whole editor uses Slate, right? And so
Yeah.
this, you can look at anything and highlight that. Like this tab here, oh, this is using a complex gradient with an overlay and like a dock tab. Like you can recreate things just by, as Dan said, like just come in here and see like the widget hierarchy. Um, but
So
so
cool. Yeah.
if I
Sorry, it's
look at
aside.
no, uh, if I just go ahead and select one of these widgets that we're going to make shortly, I can see here that is actually just a vertical box with a border and a horizontal box, an image and text. And that might be a little, I could probably trim that down a little bit, but whatever works. So yeah, really cool tool. Okay, so going back in here, let me grab it. Okay, so here's the widget that we just created. The first thing that I always do, and this will help you like visualize your widget with the WYSIWYG, is change it from fill screen up in the top right corner, just change it to custom. And when this is set to fill screen, like this is basically a canvas size or like a monitor size. And you can see the DPI scale is like some weird 0.67. That's just awkward. So if you go custom, you'll see that the DPI changes to 1. And you can change these settings in the editor preferences as well. And I forget what's really useful here.
I've never
Maybe-
even been here. I've never even been in
Yeah,
this spot.
be careful. Like in here, you'll mess. You'll mess if you mess stuff up. It makes things weird.
What does it reset if you go reset layout with like the engine?
I mean, there's probably like a reset button over here, like to reset this. This curve would be what you'd be looking at editing here, I think. Anyway.
Yeah.
So now that we have custom, we have like this arrow on the corner of the display, and we can just resize this to whatever we want. And so if I had like let me just put a border in here and change the color so it's not blinding us. What I always do when I choose colors of my widgets, I just pick one from somewhere else in the editor. Like this is my background, so I'm just going to choose this as my dark gray background color. I put it in the wrong one. It actually should be in here, brush color, not this one. And then if I fill it, now I've got like a full background. And now I can add a horizontal box because our widget, if you recall, has a horizontal layout because we've got an image on the left, which represents our MetaSound data type color, and then our input name of the input.
And that's why your widgets, I think plays a big part of why your widgets look so clean, is that color scheme is like fitting. And it's not like some, MySpace level customization.
You can go there if you want, but
I
think
have definitely gone in that area. Like it is fun. Like once you start to get the hang of it, it's fun to sort of, because it's artistic.
Yeah.
A little
Honestly,
self-expression in your tools.
I do it because I'm lazy and I just don't want to pick colors, so I just use the eyedropper and find something. But it does help lend itself to making it look nice with the rest of the editor. So I think once I get into more designing like the editor preset widgets, that's where things can be a bit more fun and out there because it's kind of like a VST, and it'd be
Right,
cool to
yeah.
have like your wood panels and your all your fun stuff in there.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next step that I usually do when I have a border or things that add padding by default, I just remove all padding at the start because I don't want to.
Okay.
Yeah, like it just messes things up when I don't know where the padding is, and like then I have to go find it, and like it's easier just to remove it. And so borders will always have it, and so I just set that to 0, and now you can see that it's flush right up against the sides there.
Right.
And I'm going to turn off this the dashed outlines because I think it looks nice. And so now I'm going to add a image, and it's not going to be an image. I'm not giving it a texture. I'm just going to change the color of it, and that's going to represent our data type color. And I'm going to make it really small. And to make it a square, I set the image size to 6 by 6, and it's going to fill up all the space unless I tell it to like center itself. It's like hidden behind there now.
Right.
And I guess I'll just leave it like that for now. And I'll change the color of it later. And then I'm going to do text. And so text I'm going to put in the same horizontal box. Because what horizontal box does is, if I align this up, you can see it better. All of these child widgets that are inside of the horizontal box get laid out horizontally. If this were a vertical box, which I can change it to a vertical box by right-clicking the horizontal box and doing replace with, and now I've got a vertical box where it's just kind of flipped it on its side. And if I took my image and I guess did this, now it's the same thing as before. Other useful things in here would be wrap with, like if you want to put like a scroll box or something here. I guess it's not an option, but
that's one of the ones that I use a lot when I realize I've created a pattern, like, where it's like, oh, I have this sort of like mini tree structure is something I want to repeat, and so then I end up wrapping it in like some kind of blocker that I can sort of just duplicate really easily, and it just automatically propagates these.
What's also, you can do the inverse here too. So if I did like a vertical box and I don't want this vertical box here, if I go to replace with and then do replace with child, it will remove that vertical box, and you don't have to reorder or like juggle your widgets over here. It's a very, very helpful tip.
Cool. Yeah.
Let me get some water. Okay, so I'm going to move it back to a horizontal box.
Right.
I don't like that it resets the slot properties here, which, I mean, fair, like it is a new slot and all that, but okay.
Well,
so,
I feel like it should retain the properties of the. Wow, I mean, that's a good question, actually.
yeah, I don't know.
That's one of those, because like I find the slot properties are one of those because once you put it in something, then it's like, then they disappear, right? Like, and I feel like that those properties are something that
so the slot properties are referring to the horizontal box that the child widget is in. So since the horizontal box can have multiple slots, each of the widgets inside of it has like a details section where you can change the behavior of it. And this is probably where people most often are having trouble with their layouts, like, oh, should I do fill vertically, or should it be like whatever? Should I do fill like this? Like, what does fill versus auto do? Which I can get into that in a little bit. Right now, I want to make this look a little bit nicer because this is doesn't look quite how we had it before. And so one thing to know about UMG widgets is that they'll fill up the space that they have been instructed to fill up. So like,
that's the other reason I use the canvas, because it's like flood filling with my and I get this distorted, widget.
Yeah. So back when I filled up that vertical box with this border, like just to have the solid color, I changed this to fill. And so now it's going to fill up the contents that it has available, which is this entire outer widget. If I set
but
this
the
back,
outer widget, if you were to host another widget, is going to conform to the like fill properties or the slot properties of that are sort of defined by its parent. Yeah.
Yeah. So if I set this back to auto, then it's only going to take up, this border is only going to take up as much space as the elements inside of it. And so if we go like that, bam. And now, like, if I move the arrow around, because there's no like vertical element that's taking up space, it's only going to fill the background to where the bounds of the text widget are, because that's the biggest element up here, which looks a little too big if you ask me. So I'm going to change the size of that. I usually try and make things look like the editor, which I think uses like size 11
Okay.
with regular. And then I change the color to like this gray color, because nothing's ever like solid, usually not solid white. But let's see if I can
Right.
grab it from up here. You don't want to grab like the the smoothed out
So, like,
color.
yeah,
You want like the
the
solid
alias
color.
like
Yeah.
text
So that's good
edging
enough
or
for
whatever.
me. And I'm going to copy that by holding shift and right clicking. And I'm going to do the same for this color just to make it look a little nicer.
Nice.
All right, so that's looking pretty much like what we had before, except now is when I like to do the panning, or padding, not panning.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about.
Mhm.
That? Okay,
and I'm gonna, let's use this for reference just to see. Okay, so it's about the same width as the square on both sides. So I'm just gonna start that, and this is 6. So we want left padding 6 and right padding 6. It's pretty
Nice.
good.
It looks pretty good all right out of the box. Right out of the box.
I would say that we probably, I should leave this open. We probably want to change the text still looks a little bit big. I'm going to go down maybe to 10. And then, yeah, that looks a lot better. Okay. I don't think it's as exact, but, you know, we don't need to be exact.
You mean the
So
text
now-
size in relation to the box?
Sorry?
You mean the text size in relation to the box?
Yeah, like there might be some padding that I had before, like 2 above
Because
and
this is all
2 below.
vectors, so it's not like it'll conform to the size, right? It'll stretch.
Like if I change the text size to like 14 or something, like
No. I mean, if you just bring that widget into another widget and then just stretch it, right?
it won't stretch, and I don't want it to stretch.
Okay.
Um,
Oh, your fill properties, right? Okay.
yeah, so it's going to be this size, and if I want to see what the actual size is, I can just zoom out so it's zoom 1 to 1. So this is my excuse me, this is my actual size. And I do think I want a little bit of that padding back. So I'm going to put 2 on top and 2 on bottom just to, you know, whatever. You can move pixels around as much as you want later, but
It is a black hole. Like it is like one of those,
Yeah.
maybe it's me, but I just really start digging into that stuff.
It's-
spiraling out.
it's easier when you have it like in the list, you know, and you want to make
Yeah.
the list look proper. So I'm just going to hold off on any tweaks until
Yeah,
later.
that's fine.
Let's just get on with it. Yeah, I did that. Let's look at the widget again. So the next thing I need is like the actual, like this left column here, we'll say. And let me
Yeah.
look at this, like what I have in here. And if I just kind of hide some of this, I'm going to hide that. And I'm going to hide the top part. So really we're just looking at that stuff.
Like the left column.
The left
basically.
column, yeah. So
Yeah.
starting here, and then I'll get rid of. Sure, we'll just look at this. So at the top, I have an asset picker, and then I've got an expandable area, and then I've got a list inside of that. So
The asset picker is something I, for some reason, every time I go to look for it, I can't find it.
well, I will show you.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
I just named this the Metasound input list entry.
Okay.
And I'm going to come back to that. Like, we're not done with it yet. There's still bindings and like interfaces
Right.
and stuff. But for now, let's just make the widgets. And so I'm going to make a new widget. I'm just going to select none. This will be the, let's say, Metasound input list,
Okay.
which will also include the asset picker. So right off the bat, I'm going to do this.
Right. Here's your customer.
And gonna do a vertical box.
Classic Eric.
Yeah, it's literally my routine. I muscle memory. So we want
Can you not start off with a vertical box as like the entry point?
You can, but you have to scroll down to find it.
Oh, okay. I got
You can
you.
type
Yeah.
it in too, but I don't know. It's
Yeah.
whatever. Sometimes I
Yeah.
type it. Okay, so first thing at the top of our box is our asset picker, which is called a single property view.
Single property view. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Interesting.
It doesn't have to be an asset picker. Let me just let's do like a tutorial on this.
Yes, this is always these dynamic widgets are always a little bit confusing because you place it in your scene or your whatever your graph or whatever canvas, and then it's just like thing goes here, and you're like, I don't know.
Yeah, like what is undefined object? Like what do you even do with this, right? Like you're not going to find any settings over here on the right that will make this work. There's one thing you have to do on the blueprint graph in order to specify the object.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yeah.
I think, okay, that makes sense.
And so
That makes sense why I have, I've been like, where is this thing? How do I get this?
Yeah, it's not super obvious. But so in order to show a single property, you need to have a property somewhere to show. And you need to know which object is showing that thing, or which object has the property you want to show. I'm just going to use this widget as the property to show.
Okay.
I'm just going to use a default variable. And so there's a node called, actually I'm going to grab this first. Grab the single property view reference, and then it's called set object. And it's under view, set object. And this will specify the object that this property view will show, which happens to be this. So I'm just going to do reference to self. And now when I come back here and compile, we have a new message. It says undefined property. And that's because we specify the object, but we haven't pointed it to the property that we want. Okay. On the right side details column here, there's at the bottom under view, there's property name. And we can specify this. I think I just new var. Look at that. Now we have our Boolean.
Oh, wow, okay. Oh, yeah, all right.
New variable.
Oh, wild, okay.
And so let's just, you can
So
make...
is it just like a pointer to like an asset type or something like that?
Yeah, so it's, if you just do like meta sound, we'll see meta sound source.
Yeah.
And I do meta sound source. And we come back here, we select our single property view, and then type in meta sound source. There's our asset picker.
That's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah, this is super powerful, very useful. And just to show what
single
the
property
looks like.
view. That actually the name makes sense now because it's like it's a view on a property in the actual. It makes sense. Yeah.
And so for a float, you get like the spin box here, and if I were to go into the float settings here, and specify a slider range 0 to 1, maybe put like temperature or whatever, you can now it'll say that, and it'll have the slider bar. You see, fun stuff. I love this widget.
Did you just go up to like 5,000 Celsius? Is that what you
No, it was map 0 to 1, wasn't it? So
was it? Oh,
yeah, so we're on 1 degree Celsius.
Oh, it's just the number of yeah, I got you.
Yeah. Yeah, float has a lot of
decibels.
cool things hidden in here too. Units, I guess just the range and units. There's some other fun stuff here. Strings, you can do, what is it? Array of strings, right? Multi-line, you can have strings that are multiple lines. I don't know. Just
cool.
Explore the details of all the base types, because there's some fun stuff
that'd
in
be
there.
fun. I mean, as fun as like
as fun as making editor tools can be.
It's kind of fun. I don't know. The thing is again, I sort of call back. I know that that's not the goal of this particular demonstration, but again, I call back to that idea that there is something compelling about the like the way that an interface influences the creative process,
Hmm.
and I just find that really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's one of the things that I like really like about hardware synthesizers in general, like because it's just like I spend all day with a keyboard and mouse and like interacting with
Yeah.
music software and a keyboard and mouse, and then it's like, oh, I get to interact with these knobs and they're laid out in a specific way where it's like, like sometimes I'll like have like I'll bring my finger and I'll just like try to manipulate many knobs with like one
Hmm.
gesture, and it's like that kind of stuff. It's like if they weren't sitting next to each other, I wouldn't be able to do that. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
one of those things where it's like there is something about the user interface that affects and influences the creative process. And that's why I feel like a lot of uh designers, a lot of audio designers, sound designers, music designers really advocate for their tools in general, especially if they're really keen on maybe middleware or something like that,
Yeah.
because there is really something that about the way it influences your workflow. That interface is really powerful thing. And
100%.
so being able to take control of that and then influence it and play around with it, I think is really powerful too. So yeah, so that's
No, you're
little
100%
tangent.
right. I want to wrap up the single property node tour here. So a couple other things that are nice is the name override. Uh,
Oh
like if you
yeah,
don't
that's a
want
good
this
idea.
to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
like
Like a
big
display
tacky
name
label
versus
there,
your property name or whatever.
like
Yeah.
we know that this is a meta sound we're selecting because when you open it up, it only shows meta sounds. But
Right.
also, this is the meta sound editor widget. So I usually just zero this out. I give it a space, and there, it just goes away.
Oh,
You
that's a good idea.
you
That's
can't just
interesting. You
put
can't just
nothing
have a
because
blank.
then yeah, it'll
That's funny.
yeah.
Yeah.
So whatever, just put a space.
Little hack.
Um, Tooltips. This is not just specific to this widget, but they're super handy. As this tooltip just popped up to explain what a tooltip is. um,
Does it? That's awesome. I wonder if someone had fun making that because it was like, cool tip for a tooltip.
Use tooltips liberally, like everywhere. Like it's the first line of defense when people need documentation. Like
Yeah.
just
Good point.
instinctively, they'll hover over stuff just to see if there's a tooltip. And if there isn't, then it's like, oh, now like where do I have to go look to find out like what this number does or whatever.
Yeah.
So I always advocate for it. It can wait until the end when things are like done because it's one of those things that you don't want to have to like do once and then
Keep
fix
revising.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
I
have
hate-
like that, like old stale
yeah.
tooltip.
You can change the tooltip widget under advanced here, which I've never done that yet, but I think having some nice stylized tooltip widgets would be cool someday. You
Yeah.
can change the cursor. So like if you're hovering over this widget now, it has the cursor
Oh, that's cool.
or the
Yeah.
text beam edit. Let's do one that's more obvious. So this will be a hand. Eyedropper. There we go. Let's try that one. There's our
That just
eyedropper.
confuses people.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's very useful for some things, though,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
uh, you know, don't go too crazy. But I guess while we're up here, like visibility is another important concept within UMG. It refers to the visibility of the widget, but visible means that you can see it, you can click on it, all that stuff. It's the default. If it's collapsed, it won't take up space and you won't see it. So now it's gone. And if I were to open the widget reflector and like try to hover over it, it's just not going to be there.
Mhm.
And so if you're trying to hide something without taking up space, that's the one you want to use. In contrast to hidden. Hidden will take up space in the layout, and this will be more exemplified if I put something under it. So now there's like this blank gap above where the
Right.
asset picker would be, and I guess it's not hit testable, so it's not going to show up in the widget
Right.
reflector. But that's what
But
these
it's like
other
it's
ones
like
are.
it's like the space is there for it to become visible later.
Yes,
Yeah.
which is useful for some parts of your design. You know, you might not want the text to jump when uncollapsing it. Like if
Right,
I
right. Yeah,
so
I
now if
always
I have
find that really
this,
frustrating when I have UI that just like gets jittery because I'm hovering over something or I'm like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, jitter is what you can avoid with that.
Cool.
So yeah, that's just kind of some tips from that. Most of this other stuff is like, we don't really care about volatile so much. Render transform I've never needed to use. Accessibility, I'm not even really sure what that would be used for in the context of editor tools. Clipping, maybe rare edge cases you would need to handle how something goes outside of bounds, maybe like text or something.
Right.
But mostly don't need to bother with rendering. Navigation is more for like your controllers, your game pads, things that need to
Well,
navigate a menu without using a mouse.
I think clipping probably comes into play more when you have a widget, which is like literally your HUD or something like that, and you have different sized screens, and you can have it where like maybe the widgets start crowding against each other because maybe the screen's narrow or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. So you might run up against that sometimes in your tools. So navigation we can ignore unless you're making like runtime widgets or things that you want to control with a controller. Like
Right.
your
Okay.
inventory menus would
Oh,
be
that's
using
cool.
this
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Localization, it's mostly like these are the things here that are exposed for this widget. Text and stuff will have a lot more to look at, but the last thing is the event here. So on property changed is pretty useful because when someone selects a new asset, you usually want to refresh things or update some part of the widget. And so if we just make an event here, we'll probably want to use that for something later. Well, let's finish designing our list here.
Right. Yeah.
So I wanted to add a kind of a fancy little, let me come back out here and find this. I had like a fancy drop box here where you can like hide things if you don't want to see them, which is a very, useful thing when you have lots of things in a list. And that widget is called an expandable area.
Huh.
So let's just drop that in. By default, we get like the arrow and like there's some rounded corners here. Right. I usually sharpen those off because that's how the editor looks. And I'm always trying to make things look rounded, like the editor.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, it's kind of probably hard to see on the stream.
Clean, flat. Yeah.
And to do that, so in the details, we've got the expansion category, and there's the header padding and area padding. On the hierarchy, there's a drop arrow for this widget that has the header and body as like kind of separate. They're kind of like folders. Like let's, for example, put some text in the header. And so I can drop it in there, and it's kind of like a sub widget almost. And now our header has the drop arrow and the text. And like always, I'm just going to do the colors that I had before. Oh.
This is cool though, because I feel like, because I know that sort of like our end goal here is to populate this with properties. But something that we haven't talked about is that like our properties support namespacing. And you could imagine like a stack of those expandable widgets that are themselves like a superset organizing the properties into groups.
Yeah.
And it could be done by namespace. I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm trying to... Sorry, I'm like also lost in thought.
Okay. Because you just sort of get this loose, list of properties. And I feel like there is a sort of opportunity there to infer organization of that list by either like the name itself or the namespace.
You mean like having just categorizing all of your things into different?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
like for example, you could have um like, and I didn't do this, but like on the big widget, right? The sound effects generator.
Mm-hmm.
There are properties that belong to different areas of the processing chain. It's like, oh, these properties belong to the the like bit crusher effect or whatever, right? And
Oh
so
yeah,
I
yeah,
could
yeah.
have where it's like bit crusher dot and then the property name
Mm-hmm.
to create a namespace inside the meta sound. Like that's something that I could have done to just sort of create that namespace.
Mm-hmm.
And then uh collecting those properties from the meta sound, I could imagine a sort of like automatic grouping where you sort of reflect that property organization
Mm-hmm.
in your list, and I think that that would be neat.
Yeah.
Charles
Sorry.
mentioned regarding accessibility that making Metasound assets screen reader accessible
Oh yeah.
via tech audio tools could be pretty interesting. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that I think it's one of those areas that we can always do better on. Um, is accessibility for audio tools, specifically for folks who uh, are blind or have you know uh, what's the term like visual challenges or sort of um,
Like impairment.
impairment. Yeah. So yeah, I feel like that's something that we could always improve upon because there's a lot of folks who are like really. Um, I think I think when you get into the VST space, like that is one of the things that sort of falls away, like the visualization of
Mm-hmm.
like it's you sort of like that. It's very easy to let that part of the accessibility fall away, and it just makes it harder to for folks to interact and do the thing they need to do.
Yeah.
So good call out, Charles.
Yeah. Okay, I made a little bit of progress here. I just put changed the style of the header to match
Hmm.
the editor a bit. Changed the color, squared off the edges. I put a border inside of the expanded area,
Nice.
which you can preview if you select this widget and then choose expanded. You can like preview what it looks
Oh
like.
yeah, nice. Yeah,
Um,
cool.
so that's good. Now I'm going to put in the list
This is
and
also the default property, right? Like, so if you leave that on, it's
what is
gonna
default?
like the expanded
Oh yeah.
flag, right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So if I compile this and run it, it will be open.
Right.
But if I set this to
Yeah.
not expanded, it will default
Yeah.
to closed.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just making sure.
And let me, before I forget, set this to visible.
Because we've talked about that before, where it's like you have, you're auditioning properties, and then you have to like make sure you go back and reset the property
Right,
values
yeah.
to like the default state.
Yeah. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is add the list. And this is going to be the list for all of our inputs on the Metasound. And so again, we
Cool.
kind of get this unfriendly message here.
Right.
It's like, what do you do? Well, so we need to specify an entry widget class, which is what we made. So the widget that we started out with before, this one,
Yeah.
this is our entry widget. But before we can select it, and we would select it down here in the entry widget class,
Okay.
we need to go into the graph. So at the top right, you can switch to the blueprint graph.
Uh-huh.
And under class settings, we have an interface and it's the user object list entry right here.
Yes, I have failed to. This is another one of those. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, it feels like four random words, kind of like, but I guess I remember them now better than I
Knowing that it
used
has
to.
to implement an interface is an important point. Like that is,
Yeah.
you know, yes, that's an important detail.
And so now we have these interface functions, and
Right.
we'll come back to it. I don't want to do it right now. We have enough that we can select it in here. And I think I named it the same as my other one before. Oh no,
Because I have literally made my own version of this list entry
yeah.
because of that I didn't know you could do that, or maybe it didn't exist at some point. I don't know. I've created my own like drag and drop downs.
Oh, fun. So I selected the widget, and now we can see that it's previewing. We can choose how many we want to preview. List view by default will have a scroll
Nice.
functionality built into it. So
That's awesome.
yeah, you don't need to like put a list inside of a scroll box.
Yeah,
You have-
I've definitely done that.
you will have two scroll bars unless you like set it up so only one of them shows. But it's weird.
I
Just use
did a
the-
vertical box inside of a scroll bar.
Okay.
That's how I made it. That's how I made my scroll.
Oh,
my-
okay.
Yeah, and then I just had like and then I just implemented like the drag and drop operation for like dragging it.
Just gonna change this to input name so we know what that represents.
Do you have to make it a variable, or a key?
Oh, to change the preview? No, you just change the content here.
No, I mean like, because you're gonna put a name there, right?
I'll be binding it, yes.
Right. Okay. Yeah,
So when I
binding,
set up the
okay.
binding, I won't be able to change the preview anymore, which is kind of annoying.
Interesting.
So if you do all if you change things before you bind them, it will display properly when you preview.
But you don't have to mark the property as, or the widget as a variable to bind it, right?
No, like I don't need
Yeah.
to make this a variable up
Okay,
here. You
okay,
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess this is kind of important too up here. Like this is the variable name of this widget if I were
Yeah.
to make it a variable. So like if I just check that box now on the graph over here, it shows up as text block 367.
That's how I would implement. That's how I would implement, because it would like I had like a entry field that would store its own like instance data, and it had its own name and all this sort of stuff.
A common convention is to name your thing and then do underscore whatever the widget is, just to make it easier when you come back over here.
Yeah,
and
so you have like
see
the
it. Yeah.
obvious. Oh, this is text. Yeah.
Yep. Otherwise, it's like, well, what is it? And I'm just gonna undo that because we don't really need that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're getting somewhere. We've got our left column here. We haven't set up any of the bindings yet or the view models.
Right.
But yeah, I guess should we just make widget number 3? How are we on time?
Time? We've got like half an hour. That's good.
Cool.
Good.
Okay, so I scrolled down this time instead of being lazy. And so this will be, let's call it our meta sound input metadata. And I actually didn't make this a separate widget in the example that I made. This was just kind of like 2 widgets. But it's good practice to kind of think about dividing your widget up into sections that you can possibly repurpose somewhere else. Like this input list would be very useful in a lot of different tools. So it's handy to have that as like a separate thing. But yeah, so let's go ahead and make a custom. We already have a vertical box. And what did I have here? So we have text, and then we've got 2 text boxes, and then we've got 2 check boxes. Or actually, that's not a check. This is actually a single property view. There aren't too many good widgets for editing integers.
Right.
So I just use the default, like property editor. You could probably do a spin box, but that under the hood is a float, and that can lead to some funkiness if you're like rounding stuff.
Right.
Anyway, so vertical box. I'm just going to start with text, but I probably should do a border around it first. You don't have to do borders, but I always choose the wrong one. There's like 3 different color pickers here, and it's like, okay, so let's choose this color, for instance. Gonna change the text size down to, we'll do 11 regular, and change the color to what I already selected before. So the first thing was input name. And I need a horizontal box around this because we want it to be left and then right. So I'm gonna wrap it, horizontal box. I'm just gonna do Control D to duplicate it.
Okay.
And this will be, I guess I'll just leave it as input name for now.
Okay.
But I'm gonna change the color to white because that's what I had before, which just makes it slightly different contrast here. It's
Right.
probably not what I would do if this were an actual tool, but you know, whatever. Okay, so now I can just duplicate this horizontal box. Maybe. Did I do it? Oh, I need a vertical box inside of my border here. So this is where this comes in super handy. Otherwise, you have to like drag and drop and reorder. Okay, now I'm gonna do this, and now just gonna rename this to, what was it? Display name. Then I'm gonna change this to a editable text box. Editor utility, editable text box. And I'm just gonna set that to fill. It's gonna take up all the space to the right. And now one thing that bothers me, do you see it?
The
It's misaligned, right? So like this,
oh,
the height
yeah.
of the text box is bigger than the height of the text widget, and so this is
Yeah.
like floating higher up. So I'm gonna change this so that it's center align vertical, and now that pleases me.
Oh, that's what it was.
Yeah.
Because I was seeing the staggered, you know,
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah.
values. and I was
This is
like,
what it
okay,
actually is, though. I mean, you could like try and left align this stuff, or like you know how
yeah.
details panel has this. We don't have like you can't do this yet in UMG. Like have this is called a splitter.
Yeah,
Where you can
I
drag and
remember
drop this.
seeing.
But you know, I've got my fingers crossed that someone will. This is a Slate widget, so it's a native widget. So they just need to port it into UMG for us tool devs or people to use. Anyway, let's do the next one, which is the description. And descriptions can be long, and so it makes more sense, I think, to have a multi-line editable text box. So I'm going to put that here, set it to fill, and somewhere in here, I forget where, there's like a height setting. Where was it? I don't want to cheat and look at the one I've already done.
A height setting for the entry field?
Yeah, so like in here,
for like how many lines?
yeah,
I
well,
know. I think
it's
it's
just
the number of lines, right?
no, I wish.
It's just
I'm going to cheat. So this looks like, what did I modify? Huh? Oh, I have a size box. That's why. I see. I thought there was something inside of this widget, like built in to change the height of it, but yeah, I just made a size box, which I don't like using size boxes. I'm gonna admit.
Oh, because they're specific. They're like explicit.
Yeah, I mean,
There is a scale box, right?
yes, scale boxes are also weird.
Yeah, they're.
I try to avoid these things. These to me feel like they can come back to haunt you in some ways. And sometimes they're necessary, but especially with layout, like you don't always want to lock things to be a specific size. but I'm going to do it because that's what the example does. Okay, so my min desired height was 75. And so again, I don't like how this is aligned, so I'm going to put that up at the top. That looks a bit better. And
Yeah,
then we
okay.
had a couple of check boxes.
Well, it was a checkbox in a single property view, right?
Oh yeah, it just looks like a checkbox.
Because there's a bool, right? Or
Yeah,
no, it was a single
it's an
like
integer. Yeah, it just has
Yeah,
the,
it was
the
like
same.
one. Yeah.
Okay, and so I should actually do another horizontal box. So I can say, what was it? The advanced pin is advanced. Change this for a checkbox. And then a single property view. Which doesn't need a horizontal box because I'm just going to connect it to the view model, I guess, would be the object. All right, so there's our metadata editor, the widget portion of it at least. And now I'm going to kind of make the tool.
Mm-hmm.
So I refer to these as like, these are widgets, right? They're not tools in the sense that they're
They're like ingredients.
Yeah, they're ingredients. Yeah. And so
this is your mise en place, right?
Yes. I try and make distinction between that because you can have small tools, but at some point, like, you want to not consider them individual tools.
Well, I think that's one of the things about UMG. This is actually a really good point. So what you have done here is architectural. And when you're new to UMG, you don't necessarily organize your objects in this way.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a really important detail to have these sort of sub-widgets. Because you will run into the case where you just need to repeat a widget, or you need to have some sort of dynamic management of the widget, in a way that just doesn't work when you're like hand placing it inside on your canvas.
Yeah.
But also, it's just like the interface is widgets all the way down. Like, it is literally widgets hosting widgets hosting
it's
widgets
true.
hosting widgets. So, I mean, you are looking at all widgets. Everything you see is widgets, and then you're building widgets in the widget space.
Dan, can I get you to vamp for a couple minutes? I want to get some more water.
Yeah, sure. Actually, you know what? I need to get some water also. So
put up that music.
Yeah, I'm gonna put up the waiting video, and we'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Yeah,
so that we can hydrate. And actually, at home, you should also hydrate. I'm gonna put up the
drink water. It's hot.
Take care of yourself banner. All right. See you in like a minute or so. Yeah, you're back. I'm back. Eric's still out. I just thought I'd swing on in here, catch up on the comments. We got this beautiful comment from Charles. The language of emojis. All right. Shall we resume? Should I jump back in? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
All right. So we have our ingredients. Now let's put them together. Yeah, so what's the first ingredient?
Love.
Really, we only have two ingredients. We have a left column and a right column. We could add a header if we wanted, like a name of the tool at the top, but I kind of stopped doing that because it's like there's usually a tab.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
For tool widgets, or I just made the distinction and then I say tool widgets.
Yep.
Yep. For the tools that are widgets, still, I like to give them the bigger tab. Like by default, they have like editor utility widgets. I always have a tough time saying editor utility widget. They have this small little tab, and I don't like that. If you go into the details in the class settings, you can spawn it as a nomad tab.
Ooh.
Wait, hang on. Before we do that, let me show you what you can do with this. Right? I can't like put this anywhere. It's just kind of on its own, which you'd maybe. It's like I would say this should be what's called a nomad tab. But if I enable this as a nomad tab, now I get the bigger tab.
Nice.
It's got the darker background, so that changes too, which is important to know if if that's important to you. But now when I drag the tab, I can put this anywhere I want inside of the editor window. And like over here, you can put it like
that
on
is so
the
cool.
sidebar. Oop.
Yes.
Like here.
I did not know this.
And you can also like do dock to sidebar, and now it's over really here, neat. And it'll just slide out. Same.
You
like
just have it as part of your like editor layout, just sitting there all the time.
You can pin it, and now it's there until I decide to close it.
It's neat. That's very neat.
It's super super handy, especially if you're making a widget that's doing like level viewport tooling things or stuff like.
Well, also I think just in general, like if you're just rocking one monitor, you just space is precious.
Yeah. Okay. I just renamed it to live, so I'll just close the old one. Okay. So yeah, always do spawn as nomad tab for tools. Like it doesn't matter if it's just like a small widget, unless you're running it. But these other options for enabling Pi and debugging, you might want that. Those are good things to look at. What else is here? We'll come back to this one later, but that one will be, yeah. And I always put almost everything I put in a namespace whenever I'm working. I think it's a good practice, good habits. It's courteous of your other fellow developers that, whenever you make a new Blueprint class, it gets added to the class list. Things like in here, you have, it popped up down here. We've got all these classes, and if you're working on a game project that's, over a decade old, it fills up quite a bit, and you're kind of flooding all of your menus and your class pickers with things that probably aren't needed to be referenced most of the time. So if you
let me just move because I think you're covering it.
Oh yeah, there we go.
I'm moving you around here.
Ta-da! Blueprint namespace. And if you set something here, like let's just say audio. Oops, let's do spell it. Oh, now I guess it's stuck like that. Okay, no, never mind. We're good. Audio. Now, this blueprint would only show up in the class pickers if you have the namespace like added, and you can add it either inside of the class defaults, or the class settings of a blueprint. Like here, you can say import namespace. And why isn't it not showing up? I guess I haven't. Do I have to save? Reload the blueprint maybe? I bet it's because I only have one namespace and it's already used. So let me just quickly just add another dummy one. I always advocate for this, so we'll say audio tools.
I'm gonna move you over to the right side.
Sorry, yeah, my layout's a bit weird.
Well, it's also just I think widgets just have more stuff on the left side, whereas like class stuff on
Yeah.
blueprints is over on the right side. It's just
So why is this important? I guess I kind of already said, like, it just cleans up all of the class pickers and stuff. Um, it also speeds up editor load times. And it's mainly an issue for like function libraries or macro libraries that can get pretty big and have lots of references to other classes, like hard references. And so you're loading up all these classes
right.
just to start your editor. It can be a nightmare sometimes. And so, yeah,
Charles asks, are there disadvantages to namespacing in this context?
I mean, it kind of puts a layer of obfuscation between, people can't discover your classes as easily. One thing that makes it easier, like for audio, for instance, like instead of just adding it inside of the class here, like this, you can add it per user editor in the editor preferences. And so I always do this. I'll go in here, I'll search for namespaces, and you can set global namespace imports for local user. And here's where I would just say, I want this one, and I want this one. And I don't know how the hierarchy works, like if audio encompasses all of audio and tools, or if it's audio tools will encompass audio. So I just do them both, whatever. Don't bother thinking about it more than that. But then this will automatically load these namespaces every time I open my editor, so I don't have to worry about like not finding my classes when I'm expecting them to be there. Sometimes when I load up a fresh editor or like one that doesn't have my namespaces there, I'm like, oh, where's my class? And like, oh yeah, I use namespaces, and I didn't set that up. But anyway, enough about that. So I'm going to change this to a horizontal box since we just have a 2-column layout. And the first one we called the meta sound input list, which I guess is this one. There we go. There's our widget.
Nice.
I want to make sure it's the right one because I am like recreating the example that I had before. Right. And I'm like, why? Like, it should be filling up more space than that. And actually, no, this is right. I think. I'm confused by myself now because, let me just drag it in, make sure.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, yeah, whatever. I guess it's taking up as much space as this top widget. Right. Like what looks weird to me is that there's this gap here, and that's where the reset button is when you like have something selected.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. But if you go to the you've stuffed it in a vertical box.
Yes.
That's okay. That's it. That was what. But yeah.
And so if I have,
I thought you wanted a horizontal box because it's 2 columns.
Yeah,
right?
I am. That is what confused me is this vertical box here.
Okay.
But if I remove this, replace a child. There we go. And then let's do the meta sound metadata. There. And so
the horizontal box has the children. Oh no. Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm going to set this one to fill up all this space, and now we get. This is what you would expect from like a 2-column layout.
Yeah, this is where you could play around with like the percentage, where it's like, or the fill weighting, I guess you'd call it.
So if I set both of these to fill, it'll do 50-50 split.
Right.
But if I want the column on the left to take up, only a quarter or whatever, like this is a little confusing to me because I don't know exactly
what. It's weighting. So it's like you're gonna take all of them, right? And that's proportion of the total. So if you've got half, if you got 0.5 and then 1, and the total is 1.5, and it's gonna be 1/3.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just never bothered. Like I've just always tweaked the number and never really thought about it too much.
Oh yeah. Sometimes in my brain, I'll just make sure the total's 1, so I'll go like, oh, 25%. I'll just think of it as
But it's
percentages.
fine if it's not
It's
1
fine if
or
it's not. It's just
Mhm.
all it does is it takes the total, and then it's the proportion of the
Got
total.
it. So I want to quick demo what this looks like with that, because it's not quite what I like to have, where you have like that left column is stretching when I do this. I always do
Right.
this because it changes the layout, which affects how your widget looks,
Still looks pretty good though.
right? Like it will resize.
It
It
looks,
gets a
but
little
also I
weird when you
think
start scrunching it, but
here's what I'll say, and I think this is like what I'm appreciating here is that we've spent like an hour on, like from scratch, an hour on this,
and we're
and that
going
looks like
very
a
slow.
nice. We're going really slow. I've asked lots of dumb questions, and it's like this is looks like a professional tool. Like it looks like something that you could ship with the engine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have spent weekends on ridiculous interfaces that are ugly. You would never want to ship. You would don't even
Yeah,
necessarily want to show people.
that's fair.
So I think this
I've
is
had
really
plenty of
cool.
bad widgets too.
I think this is really,
Um,
really cool. Yeah.
yeah. And so one other thing that bothers me is this default name of the tab. You can
Okay.
change that in the class defaults tab display name.
Nice.
However, um, it will respect the spacing here as well. But I think I have to, like, it won't do it right away. So
You have to like restart the
I think
rerun it or
maybe if I
something.
just close the asset and then reopen it, it might work. No, it's like in memory somewhere, and it hasn't been
Mhm.
flushed out. So it will
Okay.
change at some point, maybe if I reopen the editor. But uh, just know that you can change that, and it will eventually work. Um, so I guess back to this sidebar. I don't want to stretch and do all that stuff. So this might be a case where you just say a size box would be applicable.
Well, the
Uh,
nice thing about a size box is that you can define a minimum, right? Like you if you
yeah.
want like
Yes.
a if you only want to just sort of make sure it doesn't collapse below a certain amount, then you can still use it that way.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm going to specify a specific width. And so I'm just going to say, I don't know what number I had chosen before, but we'll just eyeball it and see. Okay, perfect.
That looks nice.
Actually, no, that's not right because I'm still using fill. Yeah, it should show up in the preview here. So,
Okay.
but if I did like 25, or 250, 300 seems maybe a bit too big. So
I think it depends on your property names, right? Like this is
yeah, if your input is like that big, like oof.
yeah.
I mean, it can be. I've had some pretty long input names. This feels appropriate.
Yeah.
And then if I resize this, that left bar will stay the
Nice.
same.
Yeah. That looks clean.
Yeah, that's how I want it. And if I choose a widget, nothing happens
Nothing
because
happens. There was
not a,
anything.
that's a meta sound, not a widget. Cool. So we have our layout. So now, what do we got to do to wire it up?
So we got about 10 minutes.
Oh, dang.
Do you want to keep going? We have 8 people now. We had 10 just a minute ago. Do you want to sort of like how far do you feel we are from the end, or do you want to like save like is it big? Do you want to save it for next week?
I mean, it's mostly the view model stuff, which is, I mean, it's not a 10-minute thing, so it could be a next time thing if we wanted to push it till then.
I'm mostly concerned about just like the times. Like it's just for me, it's like I did a 3-hour stream with Aaron, and it was at the end I was tired. It was cool. It was
Yeah.
awesome to keep going, and it was totally appropriate. Like it was the vibe was the vibe, right? But so I'm just I just want checking in. How do you feel?
Yeah, maybe we do it like an extra 15 minutes
Mhm.
to make up for the
Yeah,
the
sure.
lack of the intro, but
The late start. Yeah, totally.
yeah, well,
Totally.
I think 25 minutes we can probably get through
Sounds
most of
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
All right. So now we need to do the view model portion, which is going to bind data to our widgets. I think the easiest one to start with will be the list entry, this guy.
Okay. I feel like
It's-
the first one would be like the display name or something like that, right? Or I guess that's not a.
So just,
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Go ahead.
what do you mean display name?
It feels like there's a lot involved in generating a list, but maybe not. I just feel like, hey, like.
Which
Yeah,
part
like
of this would be easiest to start with?
Yeah, just like the first thing that.
Do you mean this, right? You want to start with this widget or like one of these small list entries?
I was thinking of the stuff on the right because it's single, like it's just a single example of the binding. But hey, it's.
Yeah, well, so is this. This is even simpler. So
Okay, yeah.
I'm going to overrule you on your stream.
That's right, yeah.
Denied. Okay. So this widget represents one input on a meta sound. And so for that reason, I'm going to go into the View Models tab, which if it's not in your layout by default, it'll be up in the window menu at the bottom of the top section called View Models. So open that and then also open the View Bindings window, which I like to dock over here on the right side. We'll be using that in a little bit. So for the view model, if you've enabled the Tech Audio Tools plugin, you'll see that we've got Metasound input, output, and then Metasound view model. These other ones were from a previous stream, so those won't be there for you.
Right.
And so if I click on this, I can see what data is available for me if I were to select that view model. And we could use this as we could use this for our tool if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But there's also under here, there's an editor version that has a little bit more data. That's like editor only data that's not available at runtime.
Nice. Yeah,
Things like the descriptions and the display name. Like no one playing your game needs to know the description of a Metasound input. So I'm going to select that, and we get like this nice big yellow warning saying you need to bind stuff or this isn't going to work.
Right.
But we're going to bind stuff, so we don't have to worry about that. The first thing you want to do with your view model is look at the details of it. So if you click on it on the details panel, you can see the creation type. And there's a few different ones here. The two that I use the most are manual and create instance. And in this case, we're just going to use manual anyway. So
what can you just sort of like what is creation type? Like
Yeah,
what does
yeah.
that refer to?
So it's the creation, or it's really the instantiation type of the view model.
Okay.
And so by saying manual, it means that I'm going to set the reference to the view model from somewhere else. And you don't have to worry, like this widget doesn't have to worry about
I see.
creating one on its own. If
Like
I
it's
wanted
going to be
to
something
create
we want to
one-
manage maybe in like a parent widget or something.
Yeah, so my list is going to be what provides the
Right.
Metasound input view
Makes
model.
sense.
So I'll be setting it manually. And then later on, I'll be using create instance for another one, so I'll explain it then. But for now, we'll just do manual.
Okay.
And there's two things that I want to bind here. There's the input name. And so I click on it. And then on the view bindings tab, I get the add widget name up here. You click on that and you get this binding row. And on top, this is going to show like the widget that this is. You can change that if you want. You can also like add more of them underneath of it.
Yeah.
Oops, I'm making a mess. Oh geez, don't make me do this. I should just Control Z. Okay. Anyway, on the left side, we have, my voice doesn't have this much stamina. Maybe I'm going to go the distance, but I
This
just I need
is
water.
probably the longest you've ever talked on a stream before.
Probably, yeah. The water helps, but
Stay hydrated, folks.
yes, drink water. The left is the destination of our data. So for instance, if I look inside of here, I get a bunch of stuff. And honestly, I don't
This is
really
all
care
the
about
widget properties.
Yeah, this is all the properties of the text widget.
Yeah.
And so I want to set the text property of the text widget.
Right.
So I'm just going to double click on that. And now this arrow in the middle indicates the direction that the data is going. And so this is saying one way to the widget from somewhere that I haven't selected yet.
Uh-huh.
But then there's also like two-way, which is a little confusing. I don't use it too often, but
Yeah.
it's where you want your view model and your widget to like update each other, which sometimes can be good, but it's also sometimes problematic. But
That's
anyway.
interesting that there's a distinction between one time and one way. So it suggests that you can like only on instantiation take this
Yes.
value and then otherwise don't poke it or whatever.
Yep. And sometimes you have to use that. Like for instance, you see these arrows on the left side indicating like the line indicates that's a one-time set of this property, because you can only set this property on
like
construct.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense.
And so yeah, those arrows will help you like kind of figure out what you can actually modify in which direction. So the right column or the right field here is the source. And so this is oftentimes going to be your view model,
right?
Or some other widget, or whatever you want. And this is our input name.
Yeah.
And I'm going to choose input name instead of like the display name.
Sure.
Just because most people don't use display names for things, and in order to if it's blank, it's going to show up blank, and there's no like fall back to the input name if there's no display name. Like that would be nice, but I might add that. And actually, so one thing you'll notice here, the colors are a little bit. Actually, no, they seem to fix the colors, right? These used to be like tinted a different color, and it's throwing me off, but they're good now.
Cool.
So this is a name, and this is text. And so if I try to compile this, it's going to be like, nope, sorry, you can't do that.
Do a conversion.
Yes. And so conversion functions are down here. And now we've got a whole bunch of conversions that we can do.
So does it become an intermediary source? Or, I see.
It's
like
just,
a wrapper
these are
around
static functions. And you can create your own conversion functions. I have made some of these. You can, if you use a blueprint function library, that will add them to here.
Is it just automatic, or do you use like a specific specifier on the?
It is automatic, and you can imagine how full of functions
Yeah,
you get.
it fills up.
And so the search box at the top comes in clutch. There's also context sensitive, which can help filter, but there's still so many that I just always search for things. Anyway, the one that we want is to text from a name.
Yeah.
So I'm going to double click, and now we get this kind of second row down below where I can type in like a hard-coded name if I know what it is. But I don't, so I'm going to click the link, and now I can bind just like I would before to the input name.
Nice. But it's actually, the context sensitive is kind of coming in as a hero there. It's okay. But that's really a great sort of detail, because it's like before we would not have the context sensitive wouldn't have brought up the properties. Yeah, great. That's awesome. And it's set up as like a subset of that binding. So
like down here, you mean?
Yeah. Could you like keep going? Could you like convert and then convert and convert?
No, you cannot chain conversion functions. Unfortunately, that would be really nice.
I want that.
Yeah.
Having a conversion function is cool anyway. I mean, I like, because that to me, like, just because data like I build a lot of systems, and when you're working in gameplay systems, you're building audio systems for gameplay. Like a huge part of the problem space is gathering and aggregating data, and then translating that data, either like through transformation functions or through like weird evaluations or inferences that you make because the thresholds are met or whatever, and then feeding that on to like the audio systems. And so it's just so cool to see like they recognize that is like a classic problem when you're trying to sort of connect the data from one place to the next. I really like that.
And you can even on the right here, you can
Yeah, I
ignore
was about
these
to ask
things.
about that. Like, what does that check
But
box?
in here, you can show the binding graph, which,
Ooh.
you know, in this
Yeah.
case is pretty basic, but sometimes you have a lot of inputs for, like, a static function would be here that has like 20 inputs, and you have all your
Right.
data going into it, and then just one coming out.
Yeah.
And that is actually the only requirement for the conversion function, is that it has one return type and not more than one.
Right.
So
Interesting.
if you're trying to add conversion functions, like, make sure you're
That's a
doing
good
that.
detail. Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
let's do set the color on this.
Yeah.
And so our view model, and here's where the tinted color is. That tinted? Yeah, these are bools. Like, that's not red.
Right. Yeah.
It throws. I hate it. But we have the data type, and so if I come here and I add a widget, I want to set the color. And so now we look for a conversion function. And in here we have get meta sound data type pin color. Look at that.
Nice. Yes. Custom. Speaking of custom functions.
Yes. And so this will actually find the data type color of the meta sound. And I believe it will also, like, respect if you customize your meta sound
yes, of course.
editor
Yeah.
colors in here. It's in there somewhere. Like, you can customize all your meta sound input pin colors. And it should respect that in the view model.
That's great.
Okay. So now we've done all that. The only thing we have to do on the blueprint side, and actually there's one thing in the class settings before I forget, is this annoying little box here. Can call initialized without player context. So this is a quirk of editor utility widgets and the UMG view model plugin, where if you don't check this box, your view model just won't be initialized.
Some sort of. Is there some sort of, like, assumed dependency on the, like, player controller or something like that? Like, is it like
I don't. Maybe it's not even
thing or something, or
it might not even be an editor utility specific thing, but the important thing is that initialize needs to be called,
right?
Because that's where it initializes the view models.
Right.
And if you don't have player context, then it won't call it unless this box is checked. And actually, I found this out recently, that there is an editor preference can call. Where is it? Oh, it's actually in project settings. So this is where
again, because view models are first a runtime system. Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, you can set the default for it here, but that affects your whole team. So if that's not checked, then too bad. But I just checked it, so we'll try it.
Yeah.
And that has to be enabled on all of your widgets that have view models.
Yeah.
And if you miss one, good luck finding it. I've wasted, like, hours just trying, like, because of that box. And so what I ended up doing was making a validator that would check if I have an editor utility widget that has a view model that does not have that box checked, it'll throw up, like, the message log window, and it'll have, like, a repair button. So you just click on that. It'll tick the box for me, and then I'm good.
But who validates the validator?
No. That's bait.
Instantly rejected.
Okay, so we checked the box. Now we need to implement this interface that we added a long time ago. And so the only thing we need is the onList item object set. And this is going to be where we get our view model from. Remember, we were going to set it manually?
Right.
And so now this is going to come in as a Metasound input view model. It's not going to be the editor view model version. So I need to actually cast it. To the input editor view model. And then now over here, this was created by the plugin automatically. So I have access to set this.
Interesting.
And there we go. That should be all I have to do on this widget.
That's the list entry.
Yep, that's just the list entry widget. Now we'll work our way up to the list. We have to we have to send those widgets down. And so this whole entire widget has a MetaSound asset picker. And so we could say that we want to represent a view model, we want to represent a MetaSound with a view model. So once again, there's the runtime and the editor version. I'm going to choose the editor version because why not?
Yeah.
And this time, in the creation type, in the details panel, I'm going to set it to create instance. And that means when this widget is constructed, it's going to instantiate one of these view models.
Right.
Because I want it to.
Right.
There's some other options here too. Like you can expose the instance in the editor if you have a view model that has options that you want to be able to configure on like a widget basis. But
okay. Yeah.
Yep. Not going to worry about that now. But what I do need to do is initialize this editor view model. There's two functions here. There's initialize builder and initialize MetaSound. The initialize builder is what you'd use if you were making a preset editor widget. But in our case, we're going to be picking an asset, and then we want to initialize it based on the asset. So back on the graph, I have this on-property change event that we added a while back. And I'm going to... Actually, there's a couple ways you can do it. So we can either use the view model bindings and like kind of automatically set things up that way, or I could just grab the view model and kind of do it the old-fashioned blueprint way, where you would just call initialize MetaSound, and then you would grab this. This would work. You could do it that way. I'll show you the other way to do it though, just because it's kind of it uses more of the view model system.
Okay.
And so there's a function called broadcast field value changed. There's actually two versions of it, one under field notification and one under field notify. It's very confusing because there's no very good description, but the one on the bottom is the one that is like targets the self. The other one will not target self, and you have to provide it the object. So either one.
Provide it this?
Yeah, you can provide this. It's fine. But one thing, if I compile now this entry here, well, actually, it would show the MetaSound source here, but I forgot to check the bell. If you're on Dan's YouTube channel, remember to click the bell icon. And if you're making a view model binding, remember to click the bell icon.
Yeah.
And now if I compile it, it'll show up in here. So what the bell icon does is when this property changes, as in when it's set, you'll see that it now sets with broadcast.
Right.
And that's going to trigger any of the bindings that this property is bound to back over on our view bindings here on our tab. So that's the beauty of using the bindings, and it's more performant because the old bindings in UMG, if you were to select something here and use these links here, this is the old way of doing things.
Right.
And actually, this is showing my view model here. That's interesting.
It's cool though.
But when you bind things in that way, it UMG will tick. It will pull the data source on tick, which is not very performant at all. So the bell icon is more event driven. When you set it, it will update the widget. You don't have to worry about the performance.
It's just like first classing the event approach, which we kind of described. We talked about that early on in the stream.
I think that was
that made it. Was that
no? That was cut off. So that was why Dan was like, "Why are you talking about this again?" I'm like, "Oh,
that's funny." Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, so if I want to do it this way, the type has to match the input of the function that I want to bind to.
Right, okay.
And so, for instance, if I want to bind on the view model, if I find the view model is here, and I want to initialize MetaSound as my destination, I've got the MetaSound document interface is the type that this function wants. And so I can't actually bind it to, like, I won't,
That.
yeah, if
that
I find
property
meta sound
is-
source. I don't think it'll work. I kind of want to try it, but I think it will yell
This
at me.
is where you'd want a translation function.
I mean, you could do that, or I have found other ways to kind of handle this, and I'll probably will include that at GameSoundCon,
Yeah.
because I don't have it on my computer at the moment. But I'm just going to change the type here to a document interface,
Yeah.
just so it
That works.
matches.
Yeah.
And I'm going to change this to just meta sound so that it
Sure.
is, makes sense.
Yep.
I'm going to set that. Now, if I go back, the binding was accepted, and now whenever this meta sound property changes, or when this property changes, it's going to broadcast that we've changed the meta sound property,
Right. Okay.
and that is going to call initialize meta sound.
Right.
So we're building these chains of
Yeah,
functionality.
Interesting.
I need to change this back. There we go. There's our asset picker. All right, so now what? We have a list, and we need to set all the view models on each of the entries in the list. So the nice thing about the Metasound view model is that we can get all of our input view models just straight from the view model itself. And I can go ahead and just set up a binding. So I clicked on the list, and now I want to use the set list items function, which takes an array of objects, and I can bind that to get input view models from the view model. And we can actually run the test now and see if this is working. There we go.
Wow.
Just like
That's
that.
awesome.
Pretty simple.
I mean, the array to array thing's cool. Yeah. I thought you would have had to, do like a loop and go through the.
No.
You know what I mean? Like,
No.
that's what
Yeah. Look at the blueprint. Like this is
so
it, folks.
cool.
There are no functions here. Everything you've seen tonight is like just powered by these view models, and we've worked our way up to like some pretty cool looking stuff.
Yeah.
I just know like one kind of juicy thing you can do with your list views. There is a enable scroll animation. If you do that,
Okay.
it just adds some juiciness to the scroll wheel. See how this is all like very rigid, which maybe your editor tool wants that. But now if I go here, it's like,
Oh yeah,
ooh,
get a little
there's like
smooth action.
yeah. I'm a sucker for that, so I always opt for the enable scroll animation.
Well, I think again, I keep talking about this, but like there's the sort of user experience is in the details, right? In those
Yeah,
kinds of
100%.
details, it just feels a little bit smoother. It makes
It's premium.
It's a little thing. Yeah, it just
These are premium widgets.
only the best.
So now, if I come back to our master tool widget, like you can see here, it's working. We've got our smooth scrolling.
Yeah.
We've got we're well over halfway, but now we just have this
I
other.
see why you wanted to do it the way you did it. Sorry, I thought for some reason the display name was going to be like the Metasound display name and description, but yes, no.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's the property. Yeah, no, I'm yeah.
Okay, we got one more widget. I think we'll make it. I'm good. My voice is hanging in there, so
Yeah, all right.
Now this.
We got 8 people. It's all cool. Angel Light just showed up, so it's like we could start over.
Oh, we're good. No, we've already done that once.
From the top.
So. What's interesting though, so remember we have 2 separate widgets here, and we need to be able to pass the selected input from this widget over to this one. And I didn't rehearse that, so it's not difficult, but we do have to. There is a handoff.
Because the last time you did it 2 widgets instead of 3 widgets.
Right. I had this as like kind of a sub widget here on the left, and then this other widget was like the same level, so it was a lot easier I saved time doing it that way, but we'll do it the right way for people at home. But what I do want to do is kind of bind this one up. And I can do that using the Metasound input editor view model, which we will be providing manually.
Right, of course.
And so I'm just going to start binding stuff. I'm going to bind the text to the view model input name, just like we did before. And remember, I forgot to convert that.
Right, right.
Convert your name to a text. For display name, we want to populate this text box, which has a property, which I think we just put it in the text. There's also like a hint text that you could use if you wanted to bind something to that for some reason. But I'm just going to put...
Avatar,
oh, it's in the way again.
Yeah, I'm just going to... Well, you know, I'll put you up at the top here.
There's really no good spot.
There's
a lot happening.
On in the street
you could put it like down here maybe.
Right here,
like,
yeah, we'll do that. All right.
Yeah, that works. You could have me move around like the DVD logo, like.
Honestly, if I could, I would do that. Because then you'd get that sort of supplementary engagement where you're just like, will he hit the corner this time?
Yeah. Okay. Description is the same thing. There's a text. Description.
Yeah.
So checkboxes are a little weird. They're not very bindable as they are. You can see like is checked only has like a one-time only thing.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
There's an unchecked state delegate, which we don't really want to use here. So what I did before on the previous iteration of this, I need to refresh my memory because there's a few ways you can do it. Let's see. Once you have a lot of bindings, it starts to hurt your eyes a bit. It's like, what is going on? Oh, I actually didn't use a binding at all for it. Which is kind of a cop-out, but I just did it in the back end here. So let me just reset that up. The easiest way to set it up would be to click on the right widget, select the widget, and then at the bottom we can go just on check state changed. Yeah. It'll pop it up here. And I'm just going to straight up grab the view model here, and we're going to set is advanced display. We're just going to do that. That's all we need. But I need to delete the old binding. That's not going to work.
Interesting. Yeah, of course. Makes sense.
And then we have this undefined object, which I want to set that down here. Oops, that's actually not what I wanted to do. I want to grab this. On construct, we'll do pre-construct. So pre-construct is for previewing in the designer window, and construct is called when it actually constructs the widget.
Right.
But pre-construct is also called when it constructs the widget too. So for most things you can use pre-construct. Some things you probably don't want to. So I'm going to set the object to be the view model, I believe, is what I did. And then the property, which I like to set in here, is going to be the sort order index. And hopefully that's all I need. Does that go? Undefined object. It might be once I actually run it.
Isn't that supposed to be a property on your...
It doesn't have to be. So the property can exist anywhere. It just has to know the name of the property and the object that it's looking at. So it says undefined object, but that's because maybe if I did like create instance, it might show up as like I don't know. What did I do before? So it did show up here, but I think I futzed it here, and yeah, I have it on the widget itself, and then I passed it manually into the Metasound. I must add a binding for that. Yeah, so you can do it that way, and that's probably what I will do here then as well. Oops, wrong one again. So instead of setting the object I'm going to go ahead and put the sort order index here as
Okay.
like a intermediary. I wouldn't like to do this normally, so I don't strongly advise this, but now I can bind the, oops, I'm going all over the place. I'm doing that again. Pre-construct. Set the object. How you doing, Dan? You getting tired?
Yeah. No, it's yeah. Well, it's the end of a long day. Thursday also I have like 8:30 meeting in the morning.
Oh,
So
sure.
it's
Well, there we
just a long
go.
day. But I mean that's we're near the end here. Honestly I'm very impressed with really because you this is like an hour and a half worth of work and you've stood up a pretty respectful looking tool. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Okay, I think that was what we needed, and now I can set up the binding so that it will, the destination, actually I could probably use the two-way binding here. That would be a good opportunity. So I'm going to set the view model as the destination, and then we'll do two-way binding to sort order index down here. Fingers crossed that it works. Oh, I didn't hit the bell. Remember to hit the bell icon.
Hit the bell icon.
There we go.
Subscribe and hit the bell icon.
Okay. Now, fingers crossed that I did everything there. All we need to do now is set the view model on here.
Because we set to manual, right?
Yeah. And so I can have what can I do? There's a few ways you can do. There's always many ways you can do it. But one thing I want to do is like surface from this widget. So this is the list widget. And I want to have a delegate. Let's do it that way. And we can feed off of the list view, which has an event when the item selection changes.
Yeah. Right.
So I'm going to add an event for that.
Right.
And then I'm going to create an event dispatcher. We'll say on selected input changed.
And that's how you're going to feed that item back up.
The view model, yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll do the input editor view model.
That stuff I'm familiar with.
Selected input view model. This is standard Blueprint 101.
Yeah, this is so for people at home, this is the way what Eric's creating here is a callback. So it's basically an event delegate that some other thing can subscribe to. And since we know that the parent widget is going to have a reference to this widget, this instance, it will be able to subscribe to that delegate.
Yeah, so that event that I added, the event dispatcher will show up in my master widget when I click on it, and down at the bottom, I can now add an event. And now I have my selected input view model.
Yeah.
And now I can like hand it over the fence to this one by just grabbing this, and then I don't know if I exposed the setter, so set view model. I need to go back in here and create a public setter, and that means I can set it from another source.
Yeah, sure.
Set view model, and there's two of them. One's like the node, and one's like a function. I don't think it matters. So there we go, and that will pass it over. One thing here, when you set that, like it pops open like force execute binding on set source. I'm going to do that. I don't know off the top of my head if I need to do that, but we'll just do it. It sounds like something I want to do. So I think we're maybe ready to go here. I'm a little nervous. So if I select something now, nothing happened. Okay, so time for debugging. First thing I want to debug is that this is being called.
Right.
So I'm going to put a breakpoint on it so I can test it out here, trigger something. There we
Okay.
go. We can see we have a view model going in, and we're calling our delegate.
So the cast is successful.
Yes, the cast
Yeah.
succeeded. Oops. Then let's go on the other side on the, we'll go here to see what's happening. There we go. It made it through. We have a widget. It's good. And then lastly, let's see what's going on down here. Oh, yeah, that's right. So I forgot. We needed to set
You did set
to manual.
Yeah, we talked about it. We just didn't do it.
Yeah. Okay. And then, yeah, I'll leave that.
Classic.
Yeah, I have a hunch that's not quite what the issue was,
Okay.
but we'll see. Yeah, so we're not
Okay.
quite there yet
All right.
because, so I set the view model. We have bindings. And we are executing when we set the source.
Okay.
So what are we forgetting? Are we forgetting the checkbox? Aha!
Ah, there it is.
We could have been here
That's
all
the
night.
one.
Yep.
That's the one.
I bet that was it. So let's go and select this one. There we go.
Oop,
What is
there
love?
it is. What is love?
Rockin' Stone. I just
That's really
came up
funny.
with the
Yeah,
first
Laura makes
things
some
for all of these things.
very cool. And now you
And-
have a property editor.
For your inputs.
For
And
your
so
inputs.
if I go back to the meta sound now, just to confirm that things are working, I guess we already kind of did that at the start, but if I find, one thing I would do is make this list alphabetical, like I would sort this array.
Yes.
This looks like the view model is providing the array in the order that you probably created the inputs,
Yep.
which is kind of cool.
Yeah. And grouping, like that's the other thing we talked about before.
Yes.
Like you can sort of deep dive on how these assets are presented, how they're organized. We didn't even have like yes, you're editing properties on the properties of the properties, but
Mhm.
like the properties themselves, like the values themselves, you don't edit. But you could add that as well.
Yeah.
And I think another thing I think that's really important to sort of acknowledge is that this is a one-to-one mapping example, but the power of something like a editor widget script or an editor utility is that you can create complex mapping between your parameter fields. Like we sort of touched on the transformation in the binding process, but like there's so much that you could potentially do there when you're thinking about your user and and what you want them to be able to do and what sort of spaces in your assets or content you want them to be able to poke. And so I think that like this is such a great foundation example of like building, like we really did, because we talked about doing this before, because we went really fast when we did this last time, and I think this was such a great like hello world example that gives you like all the pieces to start building your own thing. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, this is the stuff that I could talk all night about, and I think we just did. But there is a bug here, and maybe we can quick fix it. It has to do with the checkbox. Remember how we kind of manually set that?
The outlier, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and it didn't get the value set on the widget here because this was already set to true, but this didn't get that message. So maybe we just quick do a debugging thing just to figure out why.
Okay.
And so when we do our bind, we didn't actually bind it. So I think what I did before was just on construct, check the value and set it.
Sure.
I'm going to actually cheat just for the sake of time since I know we're over. But yeah, so when the selected input changed is when I set the checkbox to advanced display. So that's how you would fix it if you at home are creating this and wanted to figure out why. I also did it a little differently with the sort order index here. I followed the same kind of pattern that I did walk through before when we updated the meta sound that way.
Right.
And yeah, I want to do. Is there time for like one teeny? I want to add one more property to this.
There's no limit. There's 10 people. Like
okay. Well, all I want to do is just for debugging purposes, it might be good to have text down here that shows the value. Like you can get the value.
Yes.
Not just the. Not
yes.
just
Thank you. Yes. This is yes. Because that's sort of something I brought up is like the primary.
Yeah. You reminded me.
Yeah.
And so there's a function here on the view model, get literal value as text. Yeah. And this is mainly for debugging. Like you can't really do anything with it, but it is very helpful. So
that is nice.
I'm going to go ahead and run that. And now where it says text block, it should, when I select a widget or select a thing, it's got our values there. In our case, it's all floats and they're all mostly defaulting to 0, but
yeah. But I mean, like, look,
triggers default to false.
An hour and a half, and you've got like a little Metasound property inspector. That's really neat. It's really cool.
Do some dragging and dropping, get your sort order index. Yeah, like that. There's a lot you can do, and I hope this kind of scratches the surface and gets people's brains thinking about stuff, because it's really cool. Like, if you start thinking like beyond meta sounds, like you can have view models for your control bus mixes. You could make a sound cue view model. Like there's so much you can do, and you can connect them all together into your tools. And this way of building widgets in like these kind of compartmentalized things that you can mix and match, like it's very satisfying. It's very fun, and I wanted to share that with folks tonight.
Well, in that use case you sort of brought up before, which I think is really like, sort of calling back to that, and the sort of connection is like, because you were talking about like a property migrator, where you're like, you're migrating properties from one meta sound to another meta sound, like 2 different presets that have different data layouts, and then you're creating like a sort of a map model between them that you can then use to like batch migrate properties from like a version, an old version or an old approach or whatever, a legacy variant into some sort of new version. Yeah. So I think that's cool. Yeah. And it looks like some folks were hanging in there. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for hanging in there. Yeah, it was I'm sure it's a lot, especially like when it's not. This isn't like audio specific stuff, but like it's very powerful in the hands of tech audio. And
well, I think that's the. I think I get now what the Tech Audio Tools plugin is doing, right? Like it's bringing this power into the audio domain space, so that we can interact with our sort of specific weird asset types. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, cool. Excellent. This was really cool. Yeah, see, and I didn't even need to. We had enough content basically for 2 streams over 2 streams. It worked out perfectly. Awesome. Well, thank you all for joining us, hanging in there. I see like people joining. Like we have more people now than when we started. So I'm sort of wondering if maybe like we're starting too early for folks. But I always think of like being sensitive to East Coast people, because it's much later at night, and so yeah. But that's sort of interesting. If y'all like this time slot, or don't, like, comment in the video.
Yeah, it's flexible for the most part.
Yeah, I'm pretty flexible. I do have like my hard limits, my personal hard limits. But yeah, this is it's awesome. It's awesome to see everyone, and I hope I encourage you all to dig in, experiment, explore, And I
Yes.
feel like this was a great stream that you could really actually follow along with. So,
Create stuff.
yeah, exactly. All right. Thanks, everyone. Y'all have a good night. See you later.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.